Everything changed in a matter of seconds. You know, the NFL isn't just played on the turf, it's waged in the war rooms. It's a place where a single phone call, a single signed document, can absolutely alter the destiny of a franchise for an entire decade. Welcome to NFL Nexus for this explainer. I am so thrilled to guide you through this today because we are breaking down one of the most fascinating, cinematic, and honestly nerve-wracking roster constructions in recent memory. If you want to understand the visceral, cutthroat reality of NFL roster building, a world where absolute triumph and total disaster sit on a razor's edge, you are entirely in the right place. Before we jump in, make sure to subscribe to NFL Nexus, like this explainer, and comment down below with your thoughts. And hey, if you really want to support the deep dive analysis we do here, consider becoming a channel member. So let's dive into this. We aren't just breaking down a team today. We're essentially performing a live autopsy on a massive, high-stakes gamble. The New York Jets are walking a tightrope in 2026, and they are doing it entirely without a net.
So I want you to think about this. How much is potential really worth? It is easily the heaviest question in professional sports. In a win-now league where a single dropped pass on a chilly Sunday in January can close the championship window forever, potential is an incredibly dangerous currency. It can get a general manager fired just as easily as it can win them a Super Bowl ring. Think about it. When you pay for potential, you aren't paying for what a player has actually done. You're paying for a ghost. You are paying for what you absolutely believe they can become under your specific, perfect circumstances. And in the National Football League, believing in the wrong player, well, that costs you everything. It costs you your job, it costs you the trust of the locker room, and it costs the fan base years of painful, agonizing rebuilds.
Listen to this closely, because this is where the dominoes start to fall. When the Jets traded all-pro cornerback Sauce Gardner to Indianapolis last year, they asked that wide receiver Adonai Mitchell be included in the deal. I need you to let the sheer gravity of that sink in for a moment. Sauce Gardner wasn't just a starter. He was a foundational, franchise-defining, generational defensive talent. We're talking about a cornerback with shutdown metrics so profoundly elite that opposing defensive coordinators could literally just forget about the left side of the field. He consistently allowed sub-40 passer ratings. He was erasing top-tier receivers week in and week out. Losing a defensive piece like that completely alters the geometry of how you play the game. The Jets sent him away for 2 first-round picks, sure, but they explicitly insisted that Adonai Mitchell, a 2024 second-round pick who had largely underwhelmed up to that very moment, be the centerpiece of the player return. They didn't just ask for a throw-in to sweeten the pot. They boldly planted their flag on Mitchell. This instantly established massive, franchise-altering stakes. The front office looked at a struggling receiver, looked at their historically elite defense, and decided to stake their reputations, their entire careers, and the immediate future of the New York Jets entirely on his shoulders. That is a staggering bet.
Section 1. The Adonai Mitchell Gamble. High risk, high reward. Let's move out of those cold, calculated boardrooms and step onto the explosive reality of the practice field. Because this isn't just some fantasy football sleeper pick we're talking about. This is the literal fulcrum of the Jets' entire offensive philosophy for the 2026 season. If Mitchell fails, that blockbuster trade is a catastrophe of epic proportions. But if he succeeds, the front office looks like absolute visionaries. Just look at Mitchell's time in Indiana. 25 grueling games, barely 464 total yards. For a highly touted second-round pick, those numbers loudly scream bust. They scream irrelevance. He was consistently getting jammed at the line of scrimmage, clearly struggling with the sheer physicality of press man coverage in the pros. His yards per route run hovered at an abysmal 0.8. But then, you see the shift. 8 games in New York, 301 yards. That is a staggering, violent shift in production. In just a third of the games, he nearly matched his entire career output from Indy. Suddenly, his separation metrics spiked. His yards per route run skyrocketed from 0.8 to 2.4. This specific data represents exactly why the Jets front office believes his absolute breakout isn't just possible, they think it's inevitable. They saw a caged talent who was being completely misused, brought him to New York, changed his alignment, and instantly watched the chains come off.
And the crucial point here is what is happening right now, today, in spring practices. Mitchell isn't just resting on the laurels of those final 8 games from last year. He is actively emerging as the definitive, undisputed WR2 in new offensive coordinator Frank Reich's scheme. And to understand why this matters, we have to do a deep dive into the technical details of what Reich is actually building. Reich doesn't just call plays, the man orchestrates mismatches. He's famous across the league for utilizing tight bunch formations, incredibly condensed splits, and intricate pre-snap motion to practically guarantee that his receivers get free releases at the line of scrimmage. He structurally prevents defenders from pressing. By carving out this specific role opposite a true dominant WR1 like Garrett Wilson, Mitchell is brilliantly positioning himself to face single off-man coverage all season long. And guys, the reports coming out of camp right now are electric. He is mastering the double moves and the complex sight adjustments required in this West Coast hybrid system. He is standing out in a receiver room that is frankly quite thin outside of Wilson. Reich knows exactly how to scheme receivers into open space, and Mitchell is finally proving he possesses the top-end speed and the route-running nuance to execute that specific vision flawlessly.
Section 2. Surviving the Carousel, the Search for Stability. To truly understand why Mitchell struggled so badly early on and why his ceiling is still considered so incredibly high today, we really need to shift our focus to the unseen conflict. Because what this young man has had to endure just to reach this pivotal 2026 season is nothing short of pure chaos. Mitchell's short career has been a dizzying, exhausting carousel of quarterbacks. Seriously, look at this list. It is honestly less of a depth chart and more of a witness protection program. I mean, imagine trying to learn the microscopic timing of an NFL route tree under these conditions. In 2024, he starts with Anthony Richardson, who possesses a raw, untamed cannon for an arm, but he gets hit with injuries. Then, abruptly, Mitchell switches to veteran Joe Flacco. Think about that transition for a receiver. You are going from a dynamic, scrambling, hyper-athletic rookie to a pure, statuesque pocket passer. The spin rate on the ball is completely different. The cadence at the line of scrimmage is different. Then in 2025, Daniel Jones breaks out, but Mitchell doesn't even get to benefit from that stability before he is suddenly traded to New York midseason. And what does he find waiting for him there? Justin Fields, then Tyrod Taylor, then Brady Cook. It is a miracle, an absolute statistical miracle, that he managed 301 yards in those 8 games in New York given this utter, complete lack of continuity. When you break down this agonizing, exhausting timeline, Mitchell's early struggles don't look like a lack of talent at all. They look like the desperate flowings of a victim of circumstance.
Section 3. Geno's Redemption, the Key to the Offense.
Which brings us to the second, major, foundational gamble of the Jets' 2026 season. Because an elite receiver, no matter how much raw potential he has, is truly only as good as the man throwing him the football. The Jets are relying heavily on veteran Geno Smith to be the critical anchor required to unlock not just Adonai Mitchell, but this entire offensive scheme. But we have to aggressively grapple with a really harsh reality here. Geno Smith is coming off a brutal 2025 campaign. The Las Vegas struggle. Smith went to the Raiders and faced major, alarming regression across the board. We are talking about horrific, pocket-collapsing interior pressure. He was sacked 45 times. 45! You don't get taken down that many times without it affecting you. His pocket mechanics broke down, his QBR absolutely plummeted to one of the lowest marks of his entire career, and he was constantly playing from behind in incredibly negative game scripts. The pure magic we saw from him during his resurgence in Seattle seemed to just completely vanish in the desert air. This creates an incredible, suffocating tension around his reliability heading into this year. So the question is Geno Smith the confident, pinpoint-accurate Pro Bowler we saw in 23 and 24, or is he the battered, erratic quarterback who struggled to keep a lifeless offense afloat in Vegas last year? The Jets are betting their entire season that Las Vegas was a miserable anomaly and not the permanent rule.
But here is exactly why New York is so incredibly confident in making that massive bet. They firmly believe they offered the exact foundational pieces that the Las Vegas Raiders fundamentally lacked last season. Number 1, a rock-solid offensive line. When Geno Smith has a clean pocket, his deep ball accuracy is genuinely among the best in the entire NFL. When he can't step up, he falters. It's that simple. So the Jets have essentially built a fortified wall to keep him upright. Number 2, a true elite WR1 in Garrett Wilson. Wilson completely demands safety attention. His sheer target share and route-running ability force defenses into cover 2 or bracket coverage on his side of the field, which leaves the middle of the field and the opposite boundary dangerously exposed. If Smith has time to throw and he has an elite primary target dictating defensive coverages, the Jets firmly believe he will effortlessly return to his 2023 and 2024 Pro Bowl form. And if he does, well, that is the ultimate explosive catalyst for Adonai Mitchell's breakout. Do you see how it all connects seamlessly? A perfectly protected Geno finds an inevitably open Wilson, which leaves Mitchell completely isolated man-to-man against a defense's second-best corner with zero safety help over the top. It's a beautifully designed schematic trap. But that's assuming the quarterback holding the ball holds up.
Section 4. The Backup QB Waiting Game, a Calculated Risk.
But seriously, what if he doesn't hold up? What if the unthinkable happens in the trenches? We have to pivot to the looming, ever-present threat of an injury to Geno Smith. And this introduces the Jets' final and perhaps most unorthodox, dangerously patient strategy of the entire offseason. Because if Smith goes down, the entire house of cards collapses, unless they have a fortified safety net. And right now, the Jets are playing an incredibly dangerous game of chicken with that net. Internally, their options for a backup are honestly terrifying. Bailey Zappi, an undrafted Brady Cook, and a fourth-round rookie in Cade Klubnik. With all due respect to the heart and grind of those athletes, if Geno takes a heavy hit and goes down in Week 2, are you trusting a rookie to execute Frank Reich's complex scheme? Are you trusting a rookie to make advanced pre-snap sight adjustments, read a disguise zero blitz, and accurately feed Garrett Wilson and Adonai Mitchell under intense primetime pressure? Absolutely not. It would be an unmitigated disaster. But instead of panicking, the front office is looking across the league at the brutal training camp battles unfolding right now. The Eagles have Andy Dalton and Tanner McKee. One of them has to go. The Steelers are pitting Mason Rudolph against Will Howard. The Titans are figuring out Mitch Trubisky and Will Levis. The Jets know that high-quality, game-managing veteran quarterbacks are about to be forcibly squeezed out of other rosters due to harsh salary cap constraints. So they are comparing their unproven internal options against these established veterans and deciding to just wait.
The Jets are more than comfortable waiting to see which of the three earns the job, or wait to see which signal callers get released around the league. I've got to say, that quote leaking from inside the building is chillingly disciplined. The fans in New York, they are panicking. The local media is demanding answers and screaming about a glaring season-ending hole on the depth chart. But the front office, they have absolute ice in their veins. They are completely ignoring the outside noise to play the ultimate long game, while other franchises sweat out their own grueling camp battles and are forced to make financially agonizing cuts. It is a masterclass in psychological warfare and salary cap management. They are flat out refusing to panic buy an expensive free agent in June when they know perfectly well that the market is about to be completely flooded with viable veteran talent in late August. They are hoarding their cap space and just biding your time.
Section 5. Cut-down day roster strategy, precision timing. This waiting game they're playing isn't passive. It's a tense, highly calculated timeline executed with absolute precision. Think about the cadence of an NFL summer. In July, you let your young guys, your rookies, fight it out in the sweltering heat of training camp. You don't spend a single dime of your precious cap space. In August, you put them in those grueling, often meaningless preseason games, and you just see if anyone unexpectedly shines under the stadium lights. But the real, primary target of this entire covert operation is the end of August. Final roster cut-down day. That is when the massive 90-man rosters are aggressively, violently slashed down to 53. That is the exact, specific moment when teams like the Eagles, Steelers, and Titans are mathematically forced to expose those highly capable veteran quarterbacks to the open market. The Jets are intentionally lurking in the shadows, carefully preserving their salary cap space and their precious roster spots, just waiting for that final, tense preseason deadline to strike like a viper. And then, in September, they poach a veteran off the waiver wire, instantly plug him into the QB2 spot to absorb the playbook, and confidently head into Week 1 with a fortified veteran-led depth chart, having spent a fraction of the cost.
But you might be asking, what if they can't sign a free agent off the wire? What if someone else grabs them first? Well, they aren't out of options. Look at the powerful historical precedent for this exact strategy. We have seen this exact movie before. Think back to a past season when the Arizona Cardinals desperately needed a quarterback right before Week 1 and managed to acquire a capable starter like Josh Dobbs for a mere 5th-round pick. Teams constantly trade minor assets, day 3 draft capital in the 11th hour to secure a backup when the pressure mounts and the reality of the regular season sets in. The Jets know exactly what they are doing here. They have the late-round draft ammunition stockpiled to make a minor, calculated trade right before opening kickoff if they absolutely must. This decisively proves that their calculated patience isn't just hopeful wishing or front office negligence, it is a hyper-specific strategy with a proven historical payout in the modern NFL. They simply do not have to force a bad, expensive fit in June when a perfect, cost-effective fit can be bought for a 6th-round pick in late August. It's brilliant, really, even if it is terrifying to watch.
2026. The clock is ticking relentlessly. This specific season, right here, right now, is the absolute crucible for this franchise. Every single intense, calculated move we've dissected in this explainer today, trading away a generational, completely shut-down defensive talent for an unproven but highly explosive receiver, betting the entire offensive structure on a battered veteran quarterback desperately looking for redemption, and playing a nerve-wracking, high-stakes waiting game for the most important backup position in all of professional sports, it all converges right now. The New York Jets front office has pushed every last one of their chips into the dead center of the table, and there is absolutely no going back. So I leave you with this massive question to ponder and vigorously debate in the comments down below. Will this intense, deeply interconnected web of bold gambles finally result in a roster-building masterpiece that brings a championship to New York? Or are we witnessing the creation of a franchise-setting disaster? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. Don't forget to subscribe to NFL Nexus, hit that like button, and consider becoming a member of the channel to support more in-depth content just like this. We'll see you in the next explainer.